The stars above the moon base were silent and cold. It was midnight at listening post Echo 9, a small research station built on the far side of the moon. Only a few scientists and engineers worked there. It wasn't exciting. They listened for strange sounds from space and sent reports back to Earth. Most of the time they heard nothing but static. That night, everything changed. Dr. Lena Rao sat alone in the control room. Her eyes were tired. Her coffee had gone cold. She almost missed. In a soft repeating beep on her screen, she leaned forward, confused. The signal wasn't from Earth. It wasn't from a satellite. It wasn't even from the solar system. The pattern repeated, then changed. Again and again. It was like it was learning. Her fingers shook as she hit the record button. "This is Echo 9, she said into the mic. "We've received an unknown transmission. It's not natural, repeating, possibly intelligent. Location, deep space, sector 441A. She sent the message to Earth's main command. Then she waited. 30 seconds later, the signal stopped, and the power died. The entire moon base went dark. Alarms never rang. No one screamed. There was no sound, just silence. The next morning, Earth's leaders were confused. They tried to contact Echo 9. No response. A team was sent to the moon. When they entered the base, they found the walls covered in strange black dust. Every screen was broken. Every camera had melted from the inside, but there were no bodies, no blood, nothing. Just one thing remained, the message Dr. Rao had sent, and the signal, still recorded, still repeating. Experts listened to it. Most thought it was a joke or a strange echo from a far-off star. But one man didn't laugh. Colonel Marcus Steele, a retired space defense officer, had seen strange things before. He listened to the signal for 2 hours straight. Then he stood up and said, "This isn't a message, it's a warning." No one believed him. Days passed. Scientists tried to trace the signal's source. They couldn't. Every time they thought. They found it. The location changed. One moment it came from a dead star. The next, from the edge of a black hole. It made no sense. Then, strange things began happening on Earth. A research drone in the Arctic vanished. Its last video showed a shadow moving across the ice faster than any living thing should move. Space telescope exploded in orbit. Its final log showed a shape between the stars, huge, almost invisible, like something was bending light around it. People said it was just technical failure. Colonel Steele said otherwise. They're already here. Still, no one listened. 1 week after Echo 9 went dark, the real horror began. A small town in South Dakota vanished overnight. It was called Red Pines, population 2,300. When rescue teams arrived, they found empty streets. Cars were still running. Dinner was still on tables. Phones were ringing. But there were no people, not one body, no signs of a fight, no broken doors, no blood, only one clue. Deep claw marks on the walls, not made by any known animal, and in the center of the town square, burned into the road, was a strange symbol, like a spiral made of bones. News channels went crazy. Some said it was aliens, others called it fake. The truth was worse. Far beyond Earth, in deep space, a fleet of black ships floated through the stars. Their design was smooth, organic, like living creatures. Each ship moved like a shark through water, fast and silent. Inside, the Krev, an ancient species of hunters, watched Earth closely. They had been hunting weak planets for thousands of years. Planets like Earth were perfect, full of soft, unprepared prey. Easy to kill, easy to feed on. They didn't see humans as equals, they saw them as food. The Krev's leader, High Hunter Vexal, stood tall above his soldiers. His skin was dark and armored. His eyes were cold. He pointed to the image of Earth and said in his deep voice, They don't know we're coming. Begin the harvest. On Earth, things got worse. More towns went dark, one by one. In each place, the same signs: missing people, strange claw marks, and the spiral symbol. Governments tried to hide the truth, but videos leaked. One shaky video showed a creature, a Krev scout, leaping from a rooftop, its claws slicing through steel like paper. It was tall, fast, and looked like a nightmare. People online called it the Bone Demon. Panic spread. Martial law was declared in some countries. Military forces tried to respond, but the Krev were smart. They never attacked the same way twice. They jammed signals, blocked satellites, and wiped out teams before they could call for help. Colonel Steele warned the World Council, "You have to act now. Prepare for a full invasion. This isn't some random attack. This is a hunt." Still, many leaders refused to believe. They said the enemy couldn't be that advanced, that organized, but they were wrong. Back in space, the Krev fleet grew larger. New ships arrived every hour. Some carried warriors, others carried strange, glowing machines. They were building something, a gate, a portal. They weren't just here to attack. They were setting up permanent hunting grounds. Earth was being turned into a game reserve. In a hidden bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Colonel Steele met with a small group of scientists and soldiers. He showed them the full message from Echo 9. It had more than just sound. There were images buried in the signal. Strange pictures of bones, star maps, and dying planets. One picture showed Earth, marked in red. One scientist, Dr. Eva Zhang, ran the symbols through old alien databases. Her face went pale. "This signal, we've seen parts of it before. On dead planets, burned worlds." Colonel Steele nodded grimly. "They always send this before they hunt." Dr. Zhang whispered, "Then, we're next." But Earth wouldn't be easy prey. Not anymore. The world had changed fast. Small groups were already resisting. Civilians armed themselves. Soldiers began training for something worse than war. Colonel Steele gave one last message to the people of Earth. His voice was calm, steady. "We don't know what they are. We don't know how many there are. But we do know one thing. They think we're weak. They think we'll run. They're wrong. This is our planet. And if they want to hunt us, they better be ready to bleed." Far above Earth, the Krev gate lit up. Thousands of ships waited. The hunt was about to begin. But the Krev didn't know. They weren't the only predators here. The snow in Alaska was quiet. Too quiet. A storm had just passed through the small town of Stone Hollow, home to only 300 people. No one expected anything strange. The people there were tough, used to cold winds and wild animals. But when the next supply truck arrived from Fairbanks, the town was gone. Not destroyed, gone. The truck driver, a man named Jesse Ford, found empty streets. Houses stood untouched. Doors were open. Lights were still on. Hot coffee sat on a table still warm, but not a single person remained. Jesse backed away, shaking. He turned around, jumped in his truck, and hit the gas. He didn't stop until he reached the nearest army outpost, 200 miles south. He didn't sleep for 3 days. When Colonel Marcus Steele got the report, he didn't hesitate. He flew straight to Alaska. Alongside him were 6 elite soldiers, men and women from old Black Ops units that no longer officially existed. They were trained for alien encounters, but none of them were ready for what they saw. Stone Hollow was silent. Every window was broken from the inside. There were scratch marks, long and deep, on the ceilings. Doors had been ripped from hinges, but nothing was stolen. Food was untouched, weapons still in place. On the edge of the town, they found something worse. A frozen lake, with the ice broken open. Inside the hole was a tunnel, leading deep underground. Carved by claws, Colonel Steele sent 2 drones down the tunnel. The cameras shook as they moved deeper. Then the signal cut out. 5 minutes later, the first scream came from above. A soldier on watch disappeared in front of everyone. 1 second, he stood on a rooftop. The next, he was gone. No sound, no struggle. Just a faint shadow leaping into the sky. Panic spread. Steele grabbed his radio. Back to the trucks. Now we're not alone. As they retreated, the shadows moved again. 3 Krev scouts appeared. Tall. Black. Their bodies looked like they were made of bone and armor. They moved faster than anything human. One of the soldiers fired. A bullet hit the Krev in the face. It didn't even flinch. Another soldier screamed as a clawed hand slammed through his chest. But the 3rd soldier, Sergeant Rena Lopez, pulled out a grenade. "Say hi to Earth," she muttered, and pulled the pin. The explosion took 2 Krev down. The 3rd turned and ran. It didn't expect a fight. The surviving team made it back to the chopper. Colonel Steele stared out the window as the town burned in the distance. "They're not invincible," he said. "But they're not playing games either." Back at Earth Command, generals argued. They still didn't believe Steele's warnings. They called it a local incident. One said, "These creatures are testing us. We shouldn't provoke them." Steele stood up. His voice was cold. "They're already hunting us. How much more do you need to see?" Meanwhile, the Krev were watching, inside a cloaked ship above. "Earth," High Hunter Vexel growled as he saw the footage. Humans were not acting like prey. They fought back. They killed 2 Krev scouts, not with advanced weapons, but with basic guns and a grenade. "Interesting," Vexel said. "Perhaps we misjudged them." One of his lieutenants, a younger Krev named Thar, hissed, "They are weak. One fight means nothing." Vexel nodded. "Then show me. Take a strike team. Bring me proof." That night, the town of Millstone, Colorado became the next target. The Krevs sent 12 hunters. They moved through the forest like shadows. They expected silence. But Millstone had heard the stories. They had seen the leaked videos, and they were ready. The mayor of Millstone was a former Marine. He had trained the locals. They built traps, set alarms, dug trenches. When the Krev came, they met fire and steel. A hunter walked into a tripwire. It exploded, ripping off its leg. Another was pulled into a burning pit. The townspeople didn't run. They fought. Shotguns, fire axes, even hunting bows. It wasn't clean, it wasn't easy. But by morning, only 2 Krev had escaped. The world, finally, woke up. Millstone's defense went viral. Videos spread fast. Hashtags like fightback and not pray exploded across the internet. People stopped being afraid. They started preparing. Guns sold out. Old bunkers reopened. Towns trained together. Even children learned how to fight. But the Krev didn't stop. They were angry. And now, they were serious. Across the world, they launched coordinated strikes. In one day, 7 cities were attacked. London, Cairo, Mumbai, Santiago, Moscow, Perth, Tokyo. Thousands vanished, but humans were learning, faster than the Krev expected. In Tokyo, a local hacker used sound waves to confuse a Krev's tracking system. In Moscow, a retired sniper killed 3 hunters from over a mile away. The Krev had never fought prey like this. They were used to fear. Now they tasted resistance. In a secret underground base in Nevada, Colonel Steele met with world leaders. His message was clear. They are faster, stronger, more advanced. But they don't understand one thing. We are not prey. We are people. We fight, we learn, and most important, we don't forgive. Back in space, the Krev fleet expanded. High Hunter Vexal sat on his throne. His claws tapped the metal armrest. Slowly, "Earth is not what we thought," he said. One of his captains asked, "Shall we leave?" Vexal growled, "No, we will break them. We always do. But in his eyes, there was doubt, and on Earth, something new was happening. In hidden labs, scientists began working on alien tech, reverse engineering weapons from captured Krev gear, studying their blood, their weaknesses. One scientist smiled and whispered, "They think they're hunters. Let's show them what real monsters look like." The hunt had begun, but no one realized. The prey had teeth. The sun rose over a quiet farm in Wyoming. Cows walked across the field. Chickens pecked at the dirt. The world looked calm. But something dark moved in the forest nearby. A Krev scout team had landed. They were looking for soft targets, isolated homes, easy kills. They watched the small house through heat sensors. Only one human lived there. An old man. No guards, no weapons. To them, it was perfect. Inside the house, Frank Laird, age 67, poured himself a cup of coffee. He wore a flannel shirt, jeans and boots worn from years of work. His hair was grey, his back slightly bent, but his eyes were sharp. He'd fought in 2 wars. He didn't like talking about them. He had medals in a box somewhere. Now he just wanted peace. He looked out the window. He saw something move in the trees. Frank didn't panic. He didn't run. He walked to the closet and opened a wooden box. Inside was a shotgun, old, heavy, and clean. He loaded it calmly. The Krev moved in. They didn't expect a fight. Their claws were sharp, their armor thick. They had hunted creatures stronger than humans. On 1,000 planets, they killed without trouble. They kicked down the door. Frank stood in the living room. He didn't scream. He didn't cry. He said one thing. "You picked the wrong farm," and pulled the trigger. The blast hit the first Krev in the chest. Its armor cracked. It screamed, a high, painful screech. Blood spilled on the floor. The second Krev charged. Frank didn't move. He fired again. This time he aimed for the head. The Krev collapsed. The last one jumped at him. Frank rolled to the side. He grabbed a fire poker from the fireplace and swung it hard. The Krev grabbed his arm. Its claws dug into his skin. Frank growled and pulled the pin from a grenade hanging by the fireplace, an old keepsake from his military days. He shoved it into the Krev's mouth. Boom. When the smoke cleared, Frank stood alone, bleeding, breathing hard, but alive. The video went viral. A local hunter had placed trail cams in the woods. The whole fight was recorded. 1 old man, 3 alien hunters, 1 shotgun. People watched it 1,000,000 times. They didn't see weakness. They saw fire, and they remembered something important. Humans don't run. Across the world, resistance groups formed. Some were small, neighborhoods, with rifles and traps. Others were big, trained soldiers, engineers, and scientists. They called themselves the Ground Line. Their motto: stand, fight, never kneel. In Brazil, young teenagers created motion traps using soda cans and fishing wire. In Poland, retired miners collapsed tunnels on Krev strike teams. In Kenya, farmers used old oil drums to make bombs. Humans didn't wait for help. They became the help. The Krev didn't understand. They thought humans would scatter, hide, beg. But instead, the humans fought like cornered beasts, and cornered beasts don't run. They bite. High Hunter Vexal watched recordings in silence. He saw footage of an old woman in Vietnam taking down 2 Krev with a sharpened stick and a matchbox bomb. He saw a boy in Spain lure a hunter into a trap made from car batteries and water. Vexal growled. "This isn't prey. This is a problem." His officers were silent. He sent a message across the fleet. Increase pressure, burn their cities, break their spirit. The Krev began full strikes. They hit power grids, blew up bridges, cut water supplies. They attacked hospitals. They wanted fear, but they got fury. In New York, a Krev squad raided a hospital. They expected doctors to run. Instead, they met Dr. Elisa Cortez, a surgeon with no weapons, only a scalpel. She didn't run. She stabbed one in the eye. When backup arrived, the Krev were dead. The hospital stood. The world heard the story, and they believed again. Back at the Ground Lines HQ in Colorado, Colonel Steele met with leaders from 40 nations. He stood beside Dr. Eva Jang, who had been studying Krev biology. She smiled as she showed her results. They bleed, they bruise, and their hearts are in the wrong place, center chest, lower right, not armored. Steele nodded. So they're not gods. Far from it, she said. They're just faster, stronger, but not smarter. And they've never faced anything like us. In the training camps, Steele gave speeches to every new fighter. He kept it short. They think they're hunters, but we're not animals. We build, we fight, and we don't stop. You want to know the secret of being human? Pain. We take it and keep walking. One night, the Krev tried something new. They dropped a massive beast into the ruins of Chicago. 10 feet tall, covered in thick bone, it roared like thunder. People ran, but a single man stayed. Darren Cole, a firefighter. He had no gun. Just a fire axe and a backpack full of old dynamite. He ran into the beast head-on. He didn't survive, but neither did the monster. Statues were built in his honor. People told his story in every city, not because he won, but because he didn't run. Back in space, Vexal's fleet prepared their final move, planetfall, a full-scale invasion, thousands of ships, millions of Krev warriors. They would turn Earth into dust. But inside their war rooms, officers were nervous. For the first time, Krev were dying, and not just dying, they were being hunted. Human snipers learned to shoot between the armor plates. Engineers hacked Krev comms and fed them false data. In Ukraine, a resistance unit captured a Krev command ship with stolen access codes. Every day, humans got smarter. Every day, Krev grew more afraid. Colonel Steele looked at the map. Red dots showed lost cities. Green ones showed free zones. Each day, more turned green. He placed his finger on the biggest red zone. Next target, he said. Let's make them scream. And far below Earth, something stirred. A hidden project, not a weapon, but a new kind of soldier, faster, stronger, built from human pain and alien tech, the final piece of Earth's plan. But it wasn't ready yet. Not yet. Until then, the world had one message. We are not prey. We don't run. And if you come for us, bring armor. The city of Ashpoint was under siege. The Krev came fast. 10 ships, 40 hunters, and one giant war beast that walked through buildings like they were paper. Fire filled the sky. People screamed, sirens wailed, and then died as the power grid failed. No one came to help. The army was too far. The ground line had no fighters left in the region. Ashpoint was alone. But there was one man still in the city, and he was not afraid. James Riley, 72 years old. He sat on his porch in an old rocking chair. Smoke filled the air, but he didn't move. His hands were scarred, his eyes sharp. Tattoos marked his arms, old unit codes from wars most people had forgotten. Once, he was the leader of an elite unit called Phantom Group 9, a Black Ops team that fought in off-world conflicts when Earth had secret battles among the stars. But James had left that life behind, until now. As the first Krev entered his neighborhood, people ran, but James walked into his shed. He opened a dusty crate. Inside were old weapons, handmade bombs, knives, and a small silver badge with a name scratched into the back. Riley, Phantom 9. He took a deep breath. Then he whispered, "Time to teach these bastards a history lesson." The Krev didn't know what hit them. James moved like a ghost. He used sewer tunnels and alleys. He planted traps, nails, firebombs, gas leaks. One hunter walked into a garage. The door shut behind it. 5 seconds later, the whole building exploded. Another was lured into a church tower by a recording of a crying child. When it reached the bell, James dropped the tower on it. One by one, they fell. In the center of the city, a group of survivors, mostly children and old folks, hid in a school basement. The Krev found them. The door began to break. A mother screamed, and then, bang! The door blasted open. Smoke poured in, and James Riley stepped through. Class dismissed. He tossed 2 grenades. The Krev tried to run. Too late. The survivors stared at him. A little boy asked, "Are you a soldier?" James smiled, eyes tired. "I was. I guess I still am." He led them out. Fought off 5. More Krev with nothing but a shotgun and a crowbar. Word spread fast. 1 old man. 50 dead Krev. Whole city saved. The ground line picked him up 2 days later. Colonel Steele came to meet him in person. He held out his hand. "Riley, I read your file. I didn't know you were still breathing." James shook his hand. "Retired. Then they started hunting kids. That woke me up." Steele nodded. "We need men like you again." James looked at the city behind him, then trained them. Not soldiers, warriors. This isn't war anymore, it's survival. Riley didn't stop there. He joined the ground line training division, and he changed everything. No more slow drills, no more waiting. He taught how to fight dirty, how to win when you're outgunned, how to make the enemy afraid. His first class was made of farmers, students, and engineers. None of them had ever fought before, but in 2 weeks, they were clearing buildings, building traps, and tracking Krev through forests. One of them, a 19-year-old named Kira Malik, became his star pupil. She had lost her whole family in the Chicago attack. Now, she trained like she had nothing left to lose. James saw her throw a knife 50 feet and hit a bottle dead center. He nodded once. "She's ready." Kira led her team into Boulder Valley, where a Krev base had been hiding. They didn't go in guns blazing. They waited, studied the patrol patterns, laid traps, and attacked when the enemy least expected. In 20 minutes, the Krev base was ashes. Humans lost no one. Riley watched the footage. He smiled. Now that's how we do it. But the Krev were also changing. After too many defeats, they began studying human tactics. They started sending spy drones, listening to comms, learning languages. One Krev captain, Velta, began leading smarter attacks, ambushes, fake retreats, city bombings. She was cold, brutal, and clever. In one raid, she captured 5 ground line soldiers. Only 1 came back alive. James heard the survivor's story. Velta had used mind games, torture. She wanted to know how humans kept fighting after so much loss. The answer scared her. "They don't care if they die," the survivor had whispered. "They care if we win." Velta reported to Vexal. She told him, "These humans, they are not prey. They're something else. They fight even when broken. We may have made a mistake." But Vexal was proud, too proud. They are only human, and humans break. Back on Earth, Riley wasn't done. He knew the next step wouldn't be about weapons, it would be about belief. So he sent a message out. It played across the globe, old TVs, phones, radios, holograms. It showed his face, scarred and strong. He looked straight into the camera. "My name is James Riley. I fought wars you've never heard of, against things worse than monsters. I've seen what fear does to people. It eats them from the inside. But I've also seen what courage looks like. It's a mother with a broken leg carrying her child through fire. It's a teenager standing between a Krev and a group of strangers. It's a nurse giving her last bullet to someone she's never met. That's human. That's us. And that's why we win." People listened. In cities, in bunkers, in forests. They cried, they cheered, and they stood up. James continued training new fighters. Thousands. His body hurt every day, but he kept going, because deep inside, he remembered something. He was never fighting for himself. He was fighting for everyone else. One night, Kira Malik found him staring at the stars. She asked, "Do you think we'll survive this?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "I think we'll do more than survive. I think we'll win. Not because we're stronger, but because we don't quit. Because we remember." She nodded. Then she saluted him. "Thank you, sir." He smiled. "Don't thank me. Go make them scream." And across the galaxy, the Krev started whispering the name Riley, not as a target, but as a warning. The war was changing. Humans were still outnumbered, still outgunned. But something was different now. For the first time since the attacks began, the Krev were running. In the ruins of Johannesburg, a Krev strike team tried to escape after failing a mission. They never made it out. A ground line squad cornered them in an abandoned train station. 3 Krev died. 1 was captured. It was the first time a live Krev had been taken alive, and it was about to change everything. Colonel Steele watched from behind a glass wall as the alien was dragged into a special holding cell. It thrashed and screamed in its own language. Blood poured from a wound in its leg, thick and dark purple. Dr. Eva Jang stood beside Steele. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with excitement. "I need a lab, now." Inside the lab, scientists worked in silence. The Krev's blood was not like anything on Earth. It moved on its own, twisting in strange patterns. It reacted to heat, to light, even to human voices. Eva took a deep breath. She placed a drop under the microscope and gasped. The cells were alive, aggressive, eating each other. Not like normal blood, more like a parasite. She ran more tests. It had properties of a virus, but also of a machine. It wasn't natural. It was engineered. Colonel Steele entered the lab hours later. Eva didn't look up. She said only one word. "They've been modified." Steele frowned. "You mean enhanced?" "No," Eva said. "They've been changed, rewritten. This blood isn't just part of them, it's controlling them. It tells them what to feel, what to kill, when to sleep. It's like someone programmed them." Steele's jaw tightened. "Then who did?" At the same time, on the far side of the galaxy, High Hunter Vexal stared at a dying Krev warrior in his ship's medbay. The wound would not heal. The blood was spreading, turning black, eating the body from inside. Vexal looked at his advisors. "It's mutating again." None of them spoke. Vexal turned away and whispered, "The blood we use, the gift that made us strong, is no longer safe." Back on Earth, Ava called a secret meeting with top ground line leaders. She placed files on the table, photos, charts, microscopic scans. Her voice shook with intensity. The Krev didn't evolve this way. Their strength, their speed. It's from this synthetic blood. Someone made it long ago, maybe before Earth had cities. But here's the twist. It's unstable. It breaks down, changes, and now it's becoming toxic. Steele leaned forward. "So, they're dying?" "Not yet," Eva said. "But soon. The mutations are increasing. Their bodies can't keep up. Some of them are losing control, acting wild, unfocused." She pointed to a map. "If we push hard now, we could shatter them." The room went quiet. Then Steele said, "Let's break them." All across Earth the message went out. Krev are not gods. They bleed, they die, and now we know why. In every city, human fighters aimed for soft targets. Blood collectors, healing stations, supply points. They didn't need to destroy the whole Krev army. They just needed to cut the blood. In Madrid, Kira Malik led a small team into a Krev drop zone. They placed explosives near storage tanks filled with blood serum. Kira whispered, "Let's poison their gods," and pressed the trigger. The explosion sent shockwaves through the fleet. Across the Krev ranks, warriors began to panic. Some screamed in pain, others fell to the ground, twitching as their blood turned against them. One Krev leader tore off his own armor, howling like a wild animal. Vexal watched the madness unfold on his war screen. He turned to his second-in-command, Velta. How did they learn? Velta said nothing, but her eyes showed fear. Back on Earth, Eva made another discovery. She compared Krev blood to ancient alien samples found in ruins in Antarctica decades ago, kept hidden by governments. The patterns were almost identical, Eva whispered to herself. Whoever made the Krev made other things too, and they may still be out there. She told Steele everything. The Krev didn't come here just to hunt us, they came here to hide from something worse. That night the stars flickered. One of Earth's orbiting telescopes saw it first. A strange object moved behind Saturn. Not a ship, a shadow, bigger than anything they'd seen. And it was watching. The next day the captured Krev began to speak. Not words, images, flashes shown on the lab screen. Eva stared at them, trying to understand. She saw fire, planets crumbling, cities erased. Then she saw Earth, marked with a glowing red X. She gasped. It wasn't their first stop. It's their last refuge. She turned to Steele. They're not the top of the chain. They're running, and we're stuck in the middle. In space, Vexal stood in front of his troops. He didn't lie. Our blood fails us, our strength fades, but we are not broken. Not yet. Earth is a curse, but also a key. We will take it or we will burn with it. On Earth, Steele prepared. The next strike. They're wounded, confused, weak. But cornered animals are the most dangerous. We push now. Hard. No fear. No breaks. We break them before they become desperate. But in the shadows, the real enemy was starting to wake up. An ancient force, the one who made the blood, the one even the Krev feared. And it had noticed the noise. The war wasn't over. It had only just begun. Far beyond Earth, something stirred. It was not a ship. It was not a planet. It was a mind. Old, cold, and angry. It had no name, only whispers in old Krev records. The creators had called it the Root. And now the Root had turned its attention toward Earth. Earth, underground base. 7 Dr. Ava Jang stared at the data screen in silence. The Krev captive had shown her something new last night. An image not of war, but of a door. A great black circle, floating in space, half covered in bones. It pulsed, like a heart. She ran the scans again. It wasn't just art or memory. It was real, and the readings matched a gravitational ripple found near Saturn 3 nights ago. She called Colonel Steele. Sir, I believe this war started long before the Krev, and someone or something has been waiting behind that door. On board Krev mothership. Thornblade Velta stood on the observation deck watching the stars. Her hand trembled slightly, something no warrior would ever admit. The blood inside her body had started to whisper. It was not pain. It was fear, and it came with a message. Do not open the door. She told Vexal what she felt, but he didn't listen. The humans have made us weak, he growled. But behind that door is the power to become gods again. Velta stared at him. Or monsters. Back on Earth, outpost. Delta James Riley walked with Kira Malik through the ruins of a small village the Krev had once taken. Now the village was empty. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just silence. Too much silence. Kira looked around. Sir, what happened here? Riley kneeled beside a strange black burn on the ground. They didn't die. They were taken. By the Krev. Riley stood, up, his eyes hard. No. The Krev don't erase like this. This is something else. That night, Eva received a message, encrypted. No source. No sender. Only one line of text. The war you fight is the echo. The scream is coming. Secret archive. Iceland Eva flew to Iceland with steel. A bunker had been sealed for 40 years, holding files from a crashed alien probe recovered during the Cold War. Inside, old photos showed something strange. Krev symbols carved into mountains, blood patterns identical to current samples, and one chilling image of Earth, but surrounded by black rings, each one marked with ancient runes. Eva's hand shook as she flipped the pages. They've been watching us for longer than we've been walking upright. In orbit, a human scout ship near Saturn vanished. No signal, no wreckage, only a faint broadcast on a loop. It sees. Back at Ground Line Command, panic began to rise. Steele called a meeting of Earth's last free nations. We believed this war was between us and the Krev. But we're just in the way. Something worse is coming. We don't need more soldiers. We need survivors. Fighters who don't care about orders, who think like predators. Everyone knew who he meant. Riley and the Wolves' James Riley brought together a team from the darkest corners of Earth. Kira Malik, the sniper. Dino Carver, ex-mercenary turned teacher. Sasha Nguyen, a hacker who once shut down a city's grid just to win a bet. Raul Vega, a pilot who could land a shuttle blindfolded. And Riley himself, old, worn, but still deadly. They called themselves the Wolves, and their job was to find the door, and if possible, close it. Krev Inner Council, the Krev were falling apart. Some wanted to flee, some wanted to serve the route. Others began to turn on each other. Velta watched them argue. Then she spoke, calmly but clearly. The humans, they fight not because they are strong, but because they remember pain. We forgot pain, and now we break. No one answered, because deep inside, they knew she was right. The Wolves' mission. The Wolves flew to the edge of the system. Their goal: reach the black circle near Saturn, the door, and plant a scan probe. Simple, fast, no battle. But as they got close, things changed. The stars grew quiet. Their ship systems glitched. Time itself seemed to slow. Kira gripped her rifle tighter. "Sir, I think the door is looking at us." Suddenly a voice filled the ship, not in sound, but in thought, a whisper in every mind. "You are the last, the loudest, the fire in the ash. You are not meant to win, but you can choose how you die." Riley bit down and growled, "We choose neither. We fight." And they launched the probe. The moment it hit the door's edge, light erupted. Not bright, dark light. Everything inside the ship shut down for 12 seconds. When power returned, the scan data appeared. No one spoke as it played. They saw a world filled with Krev, millions kneeling before a throne made of screaming bone. They saw machines built from skin. They saw a star blink out. Then they saw Earth, and a voice said, "One seed remains, burn it." Eva saw the scan back on Earth. She whispered, "They aren't coming, they're already here." Across the world, strange weather patterns formed, lightning storms with no clouds, winds that whispered names. In Kenya, a man walked out of a crater, his skin black as space, his eyes glowing white. He said only, "The root remembers." And then he vanished. Riley stood at Earth's defense base, watching the door through a live feed. Kira asked him, "Sir, if this is the real enemy, what do we do?" Riley didn't blink. "We remind them what human fear tastes like." Steele prepared Earth's last defense. 10 orbital weapons, thousands of fighters, every satellite aimed at one goal, to stop the route. But deep down, everyone knew this wasn't the final battle, it was the first real one. The sky turned red over Tokyo. It wasn't sunset. It was the Krev fleet. Thousands of warships filled the upper atmosphere. They were bigger than ever before. Faster. But something was wrong. Their ships twitched, shook, as if the machines inside were sick. From orbit, Colonel Steele watched the enemy fall into position. He spoke into the global comm line. This is it. Earth's last stand. If we fall here, we fall forever. Let's show them what humans do when the sky burns. Ground line HQ, command room. Dr. Eva Zhang stared at her console. The data was clear. They're not coming to conquer, she said softly. They're coming to end everything. In the skies over Asia, the first wave began. Krev drop pods hit the ground like comets. Towers crumbled, roads shattered. In Delhi, flames climbed into the clouds, but the humans didn't run. They fought. In the streets, soldiers and civilians alike fired back. Drones swarmed Krev walkers. Mechs stomped through the ruins, covered in dirt and ash. Every street became a battlefield. In New York, a child no older than 10 threw a homemade firebomb at a Krev scout. It exploded in fire and fear. The scout screamed and fell. The child vanished into the smoke. Above them, Riley's voice echoed over every comm. Don't give them ground. Don't. Give them fear. Make them pay for every inch. In orbit, Earth's last line, 10 orbital cannons turned toward the Krev motherships. Each weapon carried plasma payloads strong enough to crack moons. Steele gave the order. Fire. Beams of white-blue energy lit up the void. Krev ships exploded like firecrackers. But for every one they destroyed, 5 more came. On board the Krev mothership Thornblade, Velta stared at the chaos. The blood in her body was boiling. She could feel the root pressing into her mind. It was no longer whispering, it was shouting. End them. End yourself. Begin again. She grabbed a weapon and made her choice. On Earth, the Wolves' mission. The Wolves were underground now, racing through tunnels beneath Antarctica. Their goal was the device, an alien core hidden beneath the ice. Once buried by ancient hands, it was the only thing powerful enough to close the door near Saturn. But time was running out. The ice was shaking. The Krev had found them. Kira fired shot after shot, covering Raoul and Sasha. Dino smashed a Krev drone. With his bare hands, they fought like animals, not because they wanted to, but because there was no choice. They reached the core. It was alive, pulsing with ancient energy. Sasha plugged in a hack stick. I can open the link, she shouted. But it has to be manual. Riley looked around. Then I'll do it. You'll die. So what? I've lived long enough. He placed his hand on the control panel. The machine woke up, and the stars trembled. In the sky, the Krev screamed. Every one of them. Their blood turned black. Ships fell from orbit. Some Krev dropped their weapons and began to cry. Others turned on each other. The route's control was breaking, and it was furious. In low orbit, the door near Saturn opened wider. Black smoke poured out, blocking the stars. A shape began to form. Not a ship, not a beast, something impossible. The route had come, and Earth was its target. Ground line HQ Eva saw it on her screen. Her voice shook. It's not matter, it's not alive, it's code, thought. Rage given form. Steele didn't blink. Can we kill it? Eva stared at the dark shape. Maybe, but we'll have to send the core into the door, from space. The Wolves' final task. Riley's body burned from the energy of the alien core, but he stood tall. Raoul and Sasha helped lift the device. They loaded it into an old Creve shuttle. One chance. One shot. We send this thing through the door, Riley said. We close it forever. Kira nodded. And if it doesn't work? He smiled sadly. Then we go out like wolves. The final flight, the Krev shuttle flew toward the door. The route saw it. It screamed without sound. Black tendrils reached out, grabbing at time itself, but the wolves pushed forward. Inside the shuttle, the core glowed hotter and hotter. Raoul's hands bled on the controls. One more second, just one more. Then they were inside. The door swallowed the ship. And then, light. Not fire, memory. The route saw humanity's past, every fight, every scream, every act of kindness and rage. It saw children, old warriors, mothers holding rifles. It saw hope, and it began to break. Eva watched the skies. The black shape above Saturn trembled, then shattered, like glass. The route was gone. The door was closed. Aftermath. The Krev ships stopped. The ones still alive fell too. The ground clutching their heads. The blood had no voice now. Velta, still alive, looked to the stars and whispered, "We were never gods, only fools with a leash." On Earth the fighting stopped. Humans emerged from bunkers, from fire, from ruins. No one cheered. Too many had died, but one thing was clear. They had survived. Colonel Steele stood before a global camera. His voice was tired, but firm. "We are not prey. We are not broken. We stood on the edge and did not fall. Now we rebuild. And we remember those who made the sky burn and still flew toward it. Far away, in the cold of space." Something else stirred. Another whisper, another eye watching. But, for now, Earth was safe. The war was over, but peace had not yet come. The sky was quiet now. No more Krev ships, no dark smoke, no screaming voices in the blood. But Earth had changed forever. 1 week after the door closed, Colonel Steele stood alone on a black hill, looking out over the ruins of New Tokyo. The buildings were gone. The people, some were still there, but everything looked different. He placed a single metal tag in the dirt. It read, "James Riley, the first wolf." A small girl stood nearby, holding a stuffed bear. Was he a hero? She asked. Steele nodded. He didn't die to win. He died so we could live. Ground Line HQ, Memorial Hall. A new hall had been built, not of gold or shining glass, but of stone. Simple, strong, and silent. Names were carved into the walls, thousands of them, each one a fighter, a doctor, a child, a mother, a mechanic. All of them had stood when others ran. All of them were human. Eva Jiang placed a data crystal into the archive. It held everything, the scans of the route, the Krev blood maps, the mission logs of the wolves. She labeled it, "Legacy, Earth's Last Stand." Then she looked out the window and whispered, "We're not prey anymore." Velta's message. The Krev survivors gathered in silence. They were no longer warriors, no longer gods, just beings lost in shame. Velta stood before them. Her voice was clear. "We were wrong. We thought humans were weak. But their strength is not in size or ships. It's in memory, in pain, in their will to fight even when death is certain. We call them prey no more. We call them brothers." The Krev began sending ships, not for war but for repair. They gave medicine. They rebuilt cities. They buried the dead, side by side with the humans, enemies no more. Kira Malik, the last wolf Kira, sat alone on a rooftop in old Paris. She looked at the stars, so quiet now. A voice came from behind. It was Sasha Nguyen, limping slightly, a metal brace on her leg. "We did it," Sasha said. Kira didn't answer at first. Then she said, "Did we?" Sasha nodded. "We didn't just save Earth, we changed the galaxy." Down below, children were painting a wall, bright colors, suns, moons, and wolves. One child looked up and pointed. "Look, it's her, the last wolf." Kira smiled, just a little. For once, the war felt far away. Colonel Steele's final broadcast weeks passed. Earth began to rebuild. Colonel Steele stood once again before the world. This time, not as a commander, but as a witness. His voice echoed across every screen. We were nearly erased, not by ships, not by lasers, but by forgetting who we are. We stood because of people like James Riley, Kira Malik, and thousands more who chose to fight. They didn't wear crowns. They didn't ask for thanks. They were tired, angry, afraid. But they stood. He paused, then looked directly into the camera. If the stars ever turn black again, if something tries to make us kneel, we will stand once more, because now the galaxy knows. We are not prey. We are the wolves. Years later, a new generation. A small school in what was once Siberia now stood where a Krev base had been destroyed. Inside, a teacher showed a holoscreen of the route's final image, shattered in space, light spilling into the void. What was it? A student asked. The teacher replied, fear, hate, power without heart. And what stopped it? The teacher smiled. Hope, fire, and 5 wolves who never gave up. Eva's message to the stars. Eva Zhang, now older, sent one last signal. Into space, a beacon. It didn't carry a warning or a weapon, just a message. We survived, we remember. If you come in peace, welcome. If you come to destroy, know this, the wolves are watching. Deep in space, unknown. System far from Earth, another species found the wreckage of a Krev ship. They examined the metal, they decoded a recording, they saw images of Earth's war, and they whispered in fear, do not touch the blue planet, it wakes monsters. Final scene. The wolf's mark on a distant moon, a soldier stood, not human, not Krev. He wore strange armor and carried no gun. He reached a wall covered in markings. One stood out, a wolf howling into the stars. Under it were words written in hundreds of languages. But they all said the same thing. They saw humans as prey. Now the hunters are screaming for mercy. The wind blew. The stars watched. And somewhere, far away, a howl echoed through space. The wolves had left a mark that would never fade.